Thank you. Senator Curtis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great hearing. Appreciate this opportunity today. I'd like to touch on something I haven't heard discussed today, and that is, unfortunately, China is not the only hostile country that exploits Panama to endanger our national security. Iranian vessels under the Panamanian flag registry have been a problem for many years. Chairman Sola, can you explain how Panama has enabled Iran to evade our sanctions?
Yes, thank you, Senator. About a year ago, when we were having this drought issue, there was also a lot of focus on Iran and how they were funding Hamas and the Houthis because they were attacking the Red Sea. What we found was, or what the United States has found, is that Iranian vessels are sometimes flagged by Panama in order to avoid sanctions so that they could sell the fuel that they have, and then they can take that money and then they can use it as they wish. Panama at the time had a very complicated process to deflag the vessels. There was an investigation, there was an appeals process. By the time that we would, OFAC or Treasury would go ahead and identify one of those vessels, by the time that they were doing the appeals and stuff like this, they've already changed flags to somewhere else. So when we went to Panama, we met with the Panamanian president. And I must say that we were very impressed because he was 30 minutes late, but he was breaking relations with Venezuela at the time because the election was the day before. We explained to him the situation. The very next day, we met with the maritime minister, with U.S. Embassy personnel, and Panama actually adjusted their appeals process so to make it more expedient. So if the United States or OFAC would come and say that this Iranian vessel is avoiding sanctions, now we have a process in place to go ahead and do that. And 53 vessels were deflagged because of that meeting.
If you would keep working on that, because that's a big deal, and thank you for that answer. Let me also go to, we've hammered on this a little bit, and I've heard several times some of you acknowledge that the interest from China is an economic threat to us, but let me come back to this defense. I think we've asked a number of times in different ways, but let me go back to the analogy of China puts a blockade on Taiwan, and we're trying to move ships into that area quickly. Can any of you say this is not just an economic threat to the United States, but a defensive threat as well?
At the FMC, it's not our area of expertise. We'll leave that to the military experts. I will just say that, to me, an economic threat is a military threat. I mean,
Sure.
Indirectly, but it is.
Yeah, I just
But
I noted the panel's
in terms of what you're directly asking,
to economic.
we at the Federal Maritime Commission don't have that area.
Chairman?
I would say that my biggest concern is that when a Chinese contractor gets a contract in Latin America, they usually put a clause in there that they bring their own workers in from China. And these workers are housed in camps outside. And these camps will have guards on them, and they will have, sometimes they in Panama, for example, they have barbed wire around the camps. So we really don't know who's in the camps. And I think that, to me, causes me more concern on who's in the camp and what are they doing. So these are actually sometimes thousands of workers that are brought in, for example, for the bridge or to do a port or something like this to undercut the local labor.
Along those lines, let me just talk about dollars from China spent. We far outspend China in the region, yet if you look back on when Panama switched diplomatic recognition from Taiwan, and we had comments from the president, Taiwan is an inalienable part of Chinese territory. It coincided with economic investment from China in the region. Is that something overall, in addition to the canal, we need to watch?
Yes, we definitely need to watch economics. And we need to, we haven't, the United States has left a void there. We really have not been competitive in Panama, and hopefully that we can be.
Okay, and I've got just a few seconds. So this bridge, we've brought this up a couple of times, the possibility of this bridge being damaged and closing the canal. But it reminds me of going through TSA at a suitcase, going through the TSA. Is there any reason that China can't watch or do whatever they want from this bridge to see what, get the intel from these containers? And does that concern anybody?
Well, it definitely concerns Southern Command because they brought it up on numerous occasions that there could be some sort of surveillance or something like that on the bridges.
Okay, I yield my time. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Senator Moreno.
First of all, thank you, Chairman, for putting this hearing